Hi, this is Bobby Kimbrough, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. Again, we have with us Shai Woodbury. I'm excited to have you with us. You know, from time to time, we have people here from the community that hold various spots throughout the community to have a conversation about what they do, how they arrive there, and just to get to know them. So, Ms. Woodbury, welcome to Off the Cuffs.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheriff Kimbrough.
No, the pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine. You know, we always start by allowing our guests to introduce themselves. Tell us about you. While I know who you are, some people know you and some people don't. Let's tell us about you, who you are, how you get here. How did you get here?
Absolutely. So my name is Shai Woodbury.
Shai,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. But my professional name is Shai because that one syllable kind of helps people to pronounce it right. And I don't have to go through Malachi and all of that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, I am definitely a home girl of Winston-Salem. My family has been here for over 110 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I am, of course, the daughter of Arthur Woodbury from Salisbury and, of course, Patricia Schweitzer. I'm, of course, from right here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. I am the fifth of 6 children. I tell people that my family's like Brady Bunches, 3 girls and 3 boys, and I'm Cindy. So I'm the baby girl, and I get kind of treated that way. So I tell people all the time, be mindful, because my brothers and sisters might be around. And, we come from Happy Hill, so we like to stay professional, but you know how that goes, because I know that you
got something in common. Happy Hill.
Exactly.
Free Street, 1303.
Exactly. So I am just definitely very, very family-oriented, community-minded, because my grandmother, Mary Schweitzer, raised us at Shiloh Baptist Church. And a lot of people may or may
Jerry
not.
Butler was the pastor name.
Yes, sir. He had that cape.
What? You don't know about that. That's for your time.
Oh, no.
J. Ray Butler.
3rd row. That's my family right there, right?
Yeah.
And so that church and that family really raised myself and my siblings, and it really put into myself and my siblings also a sense of service for this community. I don't know if people know, but the local 22 Tobacco Workers Union came out of Shiloh Baptist Church in Velma Hopkins.
Okay.
Reverend Pitts. And of course, that was before J. Ray Butler, but my grandmother was there as a young woman working at R.J. Reynolds. So that kind of activism definitely came out of Shiloh Baptist Church, and it impacted.
So, I spent the summers working at R.J. Reynolds right here where the county building is. That used to be number 12. And
Wow.
I spent my summers there riding the elevators. Well, I should say driving the elevators, right? They had the old elevators where you had to manually close the door and shift it and go. Well, I spent my summers down there. My dad worked in casing and cutting. So when you said that, didn't mean to interrupt you, but when you said R.J. Reynolds, it hit a spot.
Well, I mean, that's a key part of the development of Forsyth County.
True.
And definitely Winston-Salem and the historical context of African Americans here, right? But nevertheless, and I guess we can talk about that maybe later, but I just want the audience and you to know that I am, definitely a citizen of Forsyth County, that, I love it because my family has been here so long. There's a true investment, right? And I would be remiss if I didn't say that because of family and community support, I was able to go through Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools pretty successfully.
Where'd you go to high school at?
Oh, don't even ask.
North Forsyth?
Everybody know I'm a Carver girl.
Okay, we'll give you that.
Love to hate me.
We'll give you that. Carver wasn't even high school when we came through.
Class of 1992.
Okay.
Absolutely. So yeah, very proud of Carver High School. Also, of course, Chancellor Harold Martin is an alum of Carver High School. Yes, North Carolina A&T State University.
Did you go to A&T out of Carver? Where'd you go out when you left Carver?
I left and went to UNC Chapel Hill.
Okay, Chapel Hill, good school, good school.
That's where I was. And then I went to North Carolina A&T State University, where I received 2 master's degrees. And really, probably that's where I officially met Harold Martin as a student. He was the provost, and I got on his last nerve, because we were always protesting over there.
I could see that. I could see that in you.
Yeah. So, but nevertheless, proud graduate of Carver High School. And I tell people all the time that community at Carver High School really put something in me around, hey, there is nothing that you should ever be especially as a Black child, growing up in communities that sometimes people try to look down. Oh, never. I knew that I was expected to do something great coming from Carver High School, and I took that with me. UNC Chapel Hill, North Carolina A&T, and everywhere that I have gone.
What was the transition like coming from Carver going into Chapel Hill?
Horrible. But
why do you say horrible? Was it horrible?
There was definitely
culture shock.
Culture shock, exactly. Okay. And I'll say this: unfortunately, the academic gap was very wide. So I tell people all the time in a very constructive way, I just really wasn't prepared for the rigor to go into a space of 25,000 students from all over the world and competing at such a high level. One of my professors was Chuck Stone. He's one of he's the first Black person to be nominated for a Pulitzer. He's like one of the top journalists in the country. And he would always come in class and tell us stories about he and Martin Luther King Jr. That was his good. Exactly. And so he said, Miss Woodbury, can I talk to you after class? I was like, what do you want with me? So he says, you know what? When you come to class, you pretty much have some good things to say. He said, but you hardly ever hear them. I won't get into that. But then he says, what you lack in intellectual capacity, you make up in oomph. So I tell people, I've been riding off of that ever since he said it. So, and that oomph is what I think Carver High School and this community gave me, the audacity, the resilience.
The willingness to compete.
Exactly. Even if I'm not ready, I'm going to compete. Okay. Absolutely.
I like that. So tell me, after you left A&T, I know that you came back here, and I know currently you sit on the school board.
Yes.
Right? So what prompted you? You know, when people come in here and they sit with us, I always ask this question, what drove you to run for an office? What drove you to want to sit on that particular office or in that particular space?
Yeah, so actually, I came back to Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, wanting to help Carver High School because at the time it was up under the Leandro mandate by Judge Howard Manning. I had spent,
What do you say, pronounce that word again?
Leandro.
Okay, what do you mean when you say Leandro?
So the Leandro...
Because a lot of people don't know what that means,
Oh, okay, yeah. So essentially, the state...
Everybody matriculate through Carver and Chapel Hill. So,
No. This is...
Give us a layman's term.
I know. This is a North Carolina Superior Court case that has changed the face of public school education around. Okay. You cannot say we don't have the money to educate children. Okay. Right? So Judge Howard Manning said, you better figure it out. I'm going to put all y'all in jail.
Okay.
Essentially, he put all of public school educators on notice. Get into these schools and educate these children, because guess what? I'm tired of putting them in jail.
I didn't know what that meant, but go ahead.
Absolutely. He like, you all love them, but love them to death. So he was very straightforward. And I said, well, he need to roll up his sleeves and come into the school buildings and help. But nevertheless, that experience with other educators across the state empowered me to say, okay, I've helped Dudley High Schools and Smith High Schools in Guilford County Schools. Look at Carver High School. It's one of the worst performing schools in our state. So I came home to really invest in what had invested in me. Unfortunately, because of course, I'm a Carver kid and I come to compete. We getting ready to get it done, but people didn't see it that way. Mm-hmm. It was the urgency of now wasn't, in my opinion, on the table for us to consider. It was, well, we're going to, these kids deserve, the best. And that's why I came here. And so nevertheless, as my grandma say, two things can occupy the same space at the same time. My willingness to move Carver forward was not necessarily, in my opinion at least, in the same view of others that were, in the school building and running the school district. And so I was displaced from Carver High School. Everybody know this story. I was displaced from Carver High School, sent me out to Mount Tabor and put me in a classroom because I was there as an administrator, right? And what was so ironic is that, God is always with me. And I believe with anybody that's a believer. And so even being transitioned from Carver to Mount Tabor, I made the best of the situation, connected to children there that really had not seen a Black female in the classroom, sometimes teaching history and social studies in a hard way. Yeah. But I said, what I'll do is, instead of waiting on somebody to tell me how to make sure our children educated properly in our school system. I'll make sure I can give direction to the superintendent.
So let me ask you a question. So, sometimes in life when you get into a place or get into a position, you see that position totally different than you saw it from afar, now that you're up close. So you've been on the school board for how long now?
3 years.
3 years. So when you look at, and you know the inner workings of the school system and the school board, how would you say the school systems are now? If you had to rate them, right? People always in this thing where we talk about where are we now? Where have we come from? So, I always ask that question when I have people in front of me, where are we now? Where do you see the trajectory? Where do you see we've come from? And, I got to ask this question, right? I got to ask this. It wouldn't be fair if I didn't ask it. Are all schools equal?
No, all schools are not equal because our communities are not equal.
Okay.
And the schools are built where? In the community.
Right.
So
you're saying that some of the schools are unequal to the other schools?
Absolutely. It's America.
So some of our kids are not getting the same education?
Absolutely. And that has been going on for, very long time in our community. But I'm a public school educator and I believe I'm an expert.
Well, I came out of public school. I came out of North Forsyth, and I thought that I got a great education coming out of North Forsyth, on the Julian Gibson, Olin Schuler, Knife Foam. I could go on and on, Vic Johnson.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and all those folk that helped shape and mold me. I never thought or imagined that a school somewhere else was better than my school. I never thought that. We had valedictorians come out of my school. We had people do great things. And so when I hear people say that our schools are not equal or our schools are not, I don't really understand that. And I'll tell you why. Because if all of these schools are under the same umbrella, right, then how does we get to the place where you're saying that they're not equal? How does that happen?
Systematic structure.
And what is the role? I'm sorry.
No. So, you're getting ready to ask the question. So go ahead and finish your question.
Yeah, I was going to lead into a question.
Okay.
So you want me to ask or you want me to let you ask yours?
No, go ahead.
So my question would be, if you sit on the school board, right, and you see that the schools are unequal, those are your words, right?
Yeah.
How do we make them equal? How do I look at this parent and have a conversation knowing that your kid is in a school that is unequal to a school wherever? How do we do that? Me personally, I would struggle with that, right? And I traveled. Matter of fact, I just left the school today. I just left Glenn. I was out there speaking with some young students, and I travel around to all the schools. I have a lot of thoughts in my mind, and that's why when I get a chance to talk to people on the school board, I have to ask these questions because that's not my wheelhouse. It's not my expertise, and that's why I was so excited to have somebody from the school board here because in previous conversations, people called in and emailed me and said, well, it's wrong for somebody to say this about the school system. You need somebody from the school board that can speak to those issues.
Yeah.
And thus, there you go.
Thank you for, I think, the introduction to, let's move into this space called education. And
I had to move there.
I know. And that's where I exist, right? That's
education is powerful.
Yeah.
Knowledge is powerful.
That is.
And if we don't educate them, right?
Exactly.
And we got a message out there that our schools are not equal. That's ugly to have out.
But guess what? It's the truth. And if you don't deal with the truth, guess what you can't get to? You can't get to that solution. So we need to stop acting like the schools are the same. They should be. That's the ideal, right? We know that public.
It's a theory.
It's exactly. It's theoretical.
It's a hope.
It's a hope.
But it's not a reality.
Not a reality. But guess what? I'm here today to say that we can get there because you have professional educators in it. And I tell you, it's going to take a while because it took a very long time to get us here.
Listen to this, right? If I'm a parent, right? My son graduated from Carver.
Yeah.
Right? I had a son who graduated from Carver. My I got 7 boys, right? Mm-hmm. So I got.
That's powerful too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had one graduate from the Asheville, then Jameson from Culver, Jordan from Glenn. Who next up? Bryce from Glenn. Who next up? Kristen from West. Isaiah will graduate from East, and Jalen will graduate from Salem. So I've had boys graduating from various schools in this district for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Right? And I was under this impression that all schools equal because I'm not an educator, right? And so to hear that and to try to figure out how is that?
Yeah, but we live in America that is built on structural, systematic racism, classism. That is fundamentally, unfortunately, some of the issues that this country face, and they are in, those problems are in many other institutions, not only education, but in the health system, in the judicial, law enforcement system. So we know that the ills of structural, systematic racism, classism, and all of those isms impact the social institutions that's supposed to do what? Eradicate that stuff.
But I'm talking about my children, my babies.
I get it. And so guess what? I'm glad you said my children and my babies.
Of course, because you know what? I don't care. You might have birthed them, but these still are I consider this my community. This is my community, my children. And I have a responsibility because I know that if they're not educated and they can't compete, how they gonna eat?
Absolutely. And so what I will say, you said something very powerful. These are my children. So guess what I always tell parents? You're the first educator, and then you bring them to the school system to supplement that. So that lets us know that the school system can't be alone in this sojourn to get our children educated. What I'll tell you about the reality, the truth behind our schools are not equal is because there has been intentionality behind that, right? And so what I will say is that thank God we have the experts and the will to change that. And I think that especially here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, at least since this board, one of the first things that I could do as the chair of the school board was to create an ad hoc committee. And that committee was about bringing equity into this community. And of course, that's why we have an equity
now, people that watch
policy.
When you say explain that, I know what it means, but
okay. That's just mean it's a committee that it is not in our bylaws to stay. So when I go, it goes.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yes. And so for the time that I was there, my commitment to the school district and this community was to bring equity to our school district, which is why I said
How do we do that? So I got to ask this question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. So you could tell me anything now. I don't know until I go fact.
If I don't know, I'll go find it and bring it back.
Until I go fact check it. So based on what you're saying, that our schools are unequal, right? Mm-hmm. How long have you think they've been unequal?
Ever since Winston-Salem County Schools was created.
Good.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you know they're unequal, what's the plan to make them equal? Equitable.
Exactly. So
what's the plan? As a school board member, what's the plan?
The plan is, one, put policy in place that says we know that it's wrong and we're getting ready to fix it.
Who can do that? Who can put policy in place?
Oh, the school board is the only, entity over our school district that can put policy in place around equity. Exactly.
You educated me now.
Exactly. And so that is why when I got on the school board.
Do we have policies in place like that yet?
Yes, equity policy 1100 is
what that mean?
That is if you look up policy on our website, the code is 1100. That's just the number that identifies the policy for equity. That is just a 2019, 2020 invention. We had a community task force, so we didn't create it by way of, the school board and superintendent. A community effort came together, Black, white, male, female, Hispanic. We all got into a room and worked with someone that's an expert in the field, Effie McMillan, who is our equity director, to figure out what equity should look like in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County schools. And so we have not only the equity policy, but we have an office of equity, which means we are putting dollars behind it, human resource capital. So I think that it is working, going in the right direction. It is very massive work to really whole scale bring equity into a school district that we all know for a very long time have been a certain way. So the culture and climate is, we don't need that.
Can we expect to see a difference in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Absolutely. I think we are seeing a difference right now because the mindset is shifting, and that's what have to come first, right? The mindset has to shift. And so we are working very hard to work with principals and leaders across the district with that.
You do know now that that's a strong pill to swallow, knowing that every day I'm going to send my kid into a school that is unequal to somewhere else, right? That's a strong one to swallow.
Yeah, it is. But guess what? We have to recognize that pill that maybe you're swallowing has a little medicine to cure.
Yeah.
And what that is about is get involved as a parent, a community person, to make sure that we hold our schools accountable in our neighborhoods just like everybody else does.
So if you had a magic wand, right? Whoosh, I'm going to give you the magic wand. You the genie with the magic wand. And let's say you could wave this wand and fix this. Give me some ways that we could fix it instantly, quick, because I'm a microwave kind of guy, right? I am. They would tell you, they built the hospital in 90 days. Mm-hmm. You do know that in China, right?
Oh,
in 90 days during COVID, they said, I want a hospital, and they went to work, right? And so I don't think that it should take forever to fix a problem that is fixable. For an example, if I know that this school don't have the resources or don't have, let's say, the technical support, the equipment, the resources to compete with school A or C across town, right? And we need to give that school that.
Yeah.
And if I know that this school right here, we've been building or we're going to build it, this hypothetical, I don't know, I'm just saying, we're going to build this school, or we're going to fix this school, I know for several years. Meanwhile, we build 4 more schools. Well, I'm just saying hypothetically. I could be wrong. But how do we fix this a lot faster than you sitting there saying, well, we got policy 1100 on the books. Meanwhile, I got kids that are being underserved. Or would you say, I'm going to use your words. Would you say they're underserved, uneducated? Well, what words would you use?
I would say definitely that children are marginalized, underserved, and uneducated in public schools across this country, including Winston-Salem, Forsyth County schools. But again, it is because of the structural, systematic racism that exists in this country. And I know we want a quick fix, but this is a 400-year evolution of creating what we call the United States of America and where we exist right now. And the same will that built it is going to have to be the same will that say, hey, I know the house is here, but we got to fix it and get some things redone in order for us to all really live here in this country and, to your point, equitably in a way that we can all enjoy the fruits of this country.
You know, I can tell you this. I've been here now in the position that I sit in now, coming up on 4 years. And I will tell you that I have seen this community come together in some amazing ways. Mm-hmm. Amazing ways, right? I have seen this community when there's a problem, black, white, it don't even matter the race, the color, the creed, sexual preference, have come together and gathered. And I just believe if we remove some of the lines out the way, and we say, here is the problem to our community, to everybody that sits or resides in this great county called Forsyth. Here is the issue, and let's address it.
Yeah.
Let's address it. Let's say the problem exists, and let's address it. I think we could address it and fix it a lot faster than some of the other ways that I'm seeing, because there are so many people, and we're sitting and living in one of the wealthiest counties in the state of North Carolina. Very, very wealthy county, very well-to-do. And it's definitely not a money shortage. Definitely not a money shortage. Because, the meetings I sit in, it's constantly being said that there's a plethora of money. Is there a shortage of the school money at the school board system?
So, well, what I'll say, the state of North Carolina is.
See, now you're going to put it.
Let me say this.
Go ahead.
What we know about. No, I'm getting ready to bring it all together.
Bring it home now. Bring it home.
So the West End report that's done out of the commitment of the Leandro case to make sure that all of our children are educated equitably in this state says that we are not funding education the way that we should, so that we can see.
Here in Forsyth County?
We do. All counties have funding,
I'm
but
talking about here.
Absolutely, we have funding
we got
here.
Plenty of funding to do what we need to do.
I don't know. I don't want to say we have plenty of funding to do what we need to do.
I don't know what the school board got. I don't know. I can't count nobody else's money.
We do not have the amount of funding that we need to properly and sufficiently educate all of our children. Why? Because we know we don't even pay our educators what needs to be paid in order for them to do the work.
Teachers should be some of the highest paid people. Educators should be some of the highest paid people.
Absolutely. Think about
society.
Why not?
There is no why not. They should be.
No, I'm just asking why not. A teacher said this to me. I had a conversation with teachers the other day, and she took
write the check. If I had it, write the check.
Exactly. But you know what? She connected it to the end of Reconstruction, what we know as the beginning of Jim Crow, when the system opened up and you would start to see more African Americans, more females start to take a leadership role in public school education. And I said, I never thought about that, right? So all I'm saying is that it is another layer to this piece that I'm talking about, that structural, systematic. And I don't want to stay there, but I just want to make sure we understand that if it's structural and systematic, then we have to be that much more intentional about how we resolve the issue.
But when people start talking about systematic and systems, people built the system.
Exactly.
Right? The system just didn't grow up from the ground.
Exactly.
Systems and systematics are created by people.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is that we have the ability to change anything.
We do.
Anything we want to change.
I believe that 100%.
I believe that teachers should be paid very handsomely for several reasons, because they are the ones that educate the greatest resource that we have on this planet, our children.
Thank you.
So why wouldn't we want to pay them at the top tier? We need to revisit that. Why wouldn't we want our schools to be schools where, as your words, undereducated and unserved? Underserved.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we do that? Why would we sit knowing, right? And I guess I just get frustrated when I hear conversations like that, because I would be just, I don't want to say the word. I would have issue.
So what I would tell you is that public school educators across this country, in this district, very much so have issues with the work that we put on the table to make sure that we have a sustained democracy and society, because public school education is one of those pillars, right? But guess what? Like you said, the people who control and have power in the system. A teacher told me, Miss Woodbury, anything that works this well have to be by design. It is no mistake why some of our schools are failing, why some of our schools are not.
So can the school board, like, let's say y'all got together, right? I'm just asking. I don't know. I think way out there sometimes.
Yeah.
They probably would tell you around here, he crazy, right? But I don't know. So could the school board, because they control the schools, right?
Yes, by authority of the state, but go ahead.
Right. Educate me.
Okay.
So could the school board come and say, in this county right here, we're going to do A, B, C, D, just go down the list. Would they have the authority to do that?
Yes, within reason. So, but guess what I will say?
When you say within reason, what that mean? That's too ambiguous.
No, because the state limits us in some things that we are authorized to do. But nevertheless,
could you increase pay?
Yes, we could increase pay through, of course, advocating to the county commissioners to increase the supplement for teachers. Of course, the other way that teachers are get paid through the salary scale through the state. The major way is through the state, though. I got to say that.
I got to unpackage this slowly.
Okay.
You know, I move slow at my age, right? So could the board say right now, we're going to pay our teachers in this county, we're going to give them a raise?
Not without the support of county commissioners.
You'd have to have their support.
Yeah, because that's where the money comes from. Okay. We are not a taxing agent. We just receive the funds.
Okay,
so
anything, let's go. We're going to unpack. So we need to work on getting teachers more money.
There we go.
That's the first thing, right? Mm-hmm. Next thing, could the board say, you know what? We're going to go and create a task force, and we're going to look at all the schools, I mean all of them in this district. And the schools that don't have this, so let's say school B across town got this.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that the school across town got the same thing.
Oh, definitely.
You don't need board approval for that, do you?
You mean county commissioner?
Yeah, you don't need the county commissioner.
That's what we expect the superintendent to make sure is happening, right?
No, I'm asking, could you have that authority to do that?
Exactly, yes.
So you have the ability to go to this school over here and survey it and say, this school don't have...
Oh, absolutely. That is, to me, effective operation.
Can I bring you a list of what I'm just asking.
Listen, absolutely.
Who do I bring the list to?
You bring the list to Trish McManus so that
she got to take it. She got to take it to y'all, right?
Yeah, but she's the educational expert, and she has staff that's going to make sure that list is, like you say, it is definitely something that they can bring to the school board with recommendation. It's a process, because let me say this.
Go ahead.
The school board is made up of, some of us may be educators, some of us not. We are not experts at this. We are voted.
I'm not either.
Exactly.
Listen, I'm out of my wheelhouse. I'm just saying that.
Exactly. But also, here's what I'll say. Everybody knows there has to be a majority of will on any elected board office in order to do what? Make something happen. That's where the power lies.
I get it.
So, as long as we're clear about that, then we understand that. I think the majority, I think anybody that sits on the board ideally wants to see the best for society at whole. But what we know is in District A and District 1, where we know mainly African Americans, poor people live, it just, if you don't have the power structure to implement what you're talking about, then, we're going to continue to fight for it. Because I believe that as long as we're present, we need to continue to fight for it. But I believe that I have to make a difference and be results driven. So when you talk about why don't we have something here, but we have it there, well, I think this board has been definitely advocating on behalf of the folk in District the folk in District 1 to make sure on the school board to make sure that our children have the same as all other children. But it is a power struggle, but it can be done with the support of this community. I believe that.
I've enjoyed this conversation. I could talk to you for another hour, right? Because there's a lot of questions that's just whirls around in my mind. I just believe that when I wake up every morning, right, if it ain't right, I don't care if it's black, if it's white, I don't care what it is, right? We're going to make it right, because we're talking about the greatest asset that God has given us. That's our children.
Absolutely.
And shame on us if we know something is not, and we know that our children are not being served, right? We have an obligation as human beings to say, this ain't right. Like, I look at some of the violence.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't no secret.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
We got to do better. And I believe that we're on track to do better. I'm claiming that. We're on track to do better. I do work with Miss McMahon. I enjoy working with her. I do. I enjoy working with the school board. You've educated me on a lot of things. I promise you I'm going to make a list. And every school I go to, I'm going to start making me a little list, right?
Listen.
I'm going to send the list. I know they're going to be like, but the sheriff sending a list of what?
Because you're a constituent, you're a citizen, you got children in the school system.
I'm going to create me a list. I'm going to start creating me a list, right? Like we go around the building sometimes, say, give me a wish list. What you don't have in this, we say, this is your part of the building, this is your house. What do you want in your house that you need, right? Write me a wish list down. And they'll write a wish list. And guess what? I go back to my budget manager and say, look, figure out how to get them what they need, right? I don't care.
And what I will tell the community is that this board we passed funding to get an assessment on the needs in all of our middle and high schools as it relates to the extracurricular components like the fields and all that kind of stuff to make sure that all of the middle and high schools have what they need so that the kids can play and be safe, right? So to your point, we're definitely trying to make those lists to make sure that a Carver or Winston-Salem Prep, they also have the same amenities as a Reagan or West Forsyth. So I think that this school board is moving in, the right direction in that way.
Very impressive. You're very impressive, very thorough. You know what you know because you truly have educated me on some things, and I see your passion.
Oh, absolutely.
I like that. I see your passion. I like that. A lot of times people see, I'm accused of being aggressive, passionate, but I think that people that say that they're unprepared, people mistake that because they're unprepared or they don't have the answers. But I see that, I like that. I think that's what it's going to take. You have to have passion to be a servant, to work for the people.
Well, you know what? One of the former chancellors of North Carolina A&T State University said, Ms. Woodbury, I don't need A leadership. I need triple A leadership.
Yeah.
I'm always studying. I'm always trying to figure out how to prepare myself so that I can serve. You qualify yourself to serve because you're what? Prepared.
Exactly.
The passion is good, but if I come to you and can't really, Yeah. So
you got to have both.
You got to have both.
You
Absolutely.
You do.
And I'm evolving and trying to be more like, Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough.
No, listen, you way out there. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
And can I say this?
Sure.
I want to tell people that I was telling my class at North Carolina A&T State University that I was the first African-American to ever chair the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education. And I told them that I came in office with the first African-American sheriff of Forsyth County. And a lot of people don't really understand what that means, that since Reconstruction, when the first Black everything came into being across this nation because we have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments in play. And at least then Black men can vote. And of course, you start to see Black leadership across this country. And this is how you really get a lot of great social service systems that we see today, as a matter of fact. And to know that since the 19th century, here in Forsyth County, never thought about putting a man or a woman in power that's truly representative of what we see in our community. It took this long. And then to see the work that you're doing, it is such a godsend. And I pray for you every day.
I appreciate that.
To be sustained. This is the hard work. And I know what it has taken for us to get you here as a community, no matter what your color, gender, or any of that. It is just a powerful moment that our community should celebrate to have you here.
You know what? I appreciate that. I'll tell you what I tell people all the time. I wake up every day, I look in the mirror, I know what color I am, I know my race. My birth certificate says Negro. Yeah, because
wow.
See, I was born in the 60s, right? That was before they said this, that, and other. My birth certificate says
Negro.
Right?
Wow.
Matter of fact, I have a copy of it. But anyway, where I'm going is this, is that I know who I am. I know who Bobby Kimbrough is. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to announce who I am or what I am. What I tell people is this, is that if you went to the doctor tomorrow, if you feel sick, Would you want a black doctor, a white doctor, whatever, Republican, Democrat, and whatever the case may be, independent, you would want none of those. You would want the best surgeon in the building.
Exactly.
That's what you want. And so every day I ask God to make me be the best person. That's what I want to be, right? And when I leave here, I want people to say, he was the best. That's what I want them to say about me. All the other adjectives that describe me, that's great. But I want them to say he was the best. And so I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your passion. I wish you much success. I think that it's great that we have these conversations because people need to know what the school board does. They need to know the power that the school board has. They need to get involved in the school board,
Absolutely.
The meetings. We need to know and to make sure that our kids are being educated. What I always do before we go to the house is we say, I'm going to give you the last word before we take it home. Anything you want to say, and because I think that you are a guest here in our house, and I'm very grateful that you were here today because a lot of times people don't know what school board members do. They don't know that you had to be voted to get there. They don't know that you and your team of how many of you all is it? 7?
Yes.
7 make the decisions for this whole county as it relates.
9.
9.
I'm thinking of county commissions.
Yeah,
9. Yes,
that's why I said 7.
Yeah.
So it's 9 school board members
exactly
that control the direction of our school system. Matter of fact, you all chose and choose who the superintendent is going to be. Correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
That's our main role.
Exactly. That's a huge undertaking. I think you guys hit it on the head this time. McManus, I really enjoy working with her. You know, she's easy to get along with. I think, you know, she truly understands, you know, her and her team are working hard to catch up some of the inequities that you talked about. And so I wish much success, but I'm going to make that list up and I'm going to give you the last word to take us home.
Thank you, Sheriff Kimbrough, and I really want to thank your staff that have welcomed me here and been so gracious and kind. And I think that level of disposition is kind of missing. Everybody think you have to, you know, be so, but the kindness and just the respect, exactly. And I'm glad you said that. Shai Woodbury is family to most of the citizens. I believe if you've been here 110 years, some kind of way, I am probably akin to black, white, Hispanic, everything and in between. And if not that, a friend. And that's what I want this community to know about Shai Woodbury, that I am you, you are me. I believe you love me and I love you. You have invested in me to be where I am. So it is incumbent for me to do all that I can do to make sure the next generation can get to where I am. So I am working so hard to work with others in this community like yourself and so many others to make sure that our children, I tell people all the time, public school education, but definitely our marginalized children, it's a chance at life. I'm not talking about, you know, you have a Mercedes or you got the big house, a chance at a good and happy life. And when I don't go into that school board and fight like you know what to make that happen in my community, the options are jail or death. I cannot play around with that. And I know you're not playing around with it. And I know people around this community, we're serious about making sure that we provide for all children a chance at a good life.
Well, I appreciate you being here. You know, you hit a nerve just now when you talked about how long you've been here. My auntie was showing me a picture over Easter of me working at my uncle's record store on Patterson Avenue, Kimbrough's record store in 1975. Picture that they took with a Polaroid camera when they opened up the record store on Patterson, and then later moved it to Liberty Street. Then later moved it to the corner of 4th and Liberty, right there on the corner. And So it just took me back when you talk about how long a family has been here.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to leave is this, is that in 2018, when God allowed me to be in this space, one of the things that I said in 2018, that December when they were swearing me in and I was allowed to speak, and I said that we're better together. I said that in December of 2018. I was reading over the transcript, some of the things last week. I meant that, and I see that happening in our community because the fact of the matter, we are better together. We're better together. We're stronger. We're safer. We're more productive. And when we come together, that's when the magic takes place. Mm-hmm. That's when we realize that regardless of where you live, your color, or any affiliation, if we stand together, we are better. And what I would tell you is that we got to continue to stand together as a community. We got to continue to stand together and bring our school systems together to the same place to where when I look at where I'm going to send my child to school, or in my case, my grandchildren to school, that I can look and say, you know what? I don't have to decide, well, is that school better than that school?
Exactly.
Or is that school undereducating and that school is not? I don't have to make those choices. My prayers are with you.
Thank you so much.
Continue to do what you do.
I appreciate
Continue
you.
to be Shai Woodbury. Keep doing your thing. Best wishes. May God continue to smile upon you.
Same to you.
I
Peace
want
and
to
blessings.
thank all of you for joining us. I want to thank Hal. I want to thank everybody present here for being a part of this conversation. As always, I love you. I love this community. Thank you for your support and have a great rest of your week.